Singapore has over 2,000 species of plants. Its favourable climate conditions make it a biodiversity hotspot for both terrestrial and aquatic flora to thrive in. Plants have distinctive characteristics that can be used to identify which family they belong to. One of the easiest ways to identify plants is to observe their appearance, also known as morphological traits. In the absence of reproductive plant parts like flowers or fruits, we need to use their leaves to identify them. Knowing how to tell leaves apart is a useful skill because most plants are not always flowering or fruiting. Luckily, most plants in Singapore are evergreen or have their leaves all year round due to the tropical climate, which offers a stable environment throughout the year. There are a few terms I would like to introduce before I go any further. These terms will be used repeatedly in the future episodes, so it is a good time to learn what they mean. Firstly, all life on Earth can be represented by a tree of life. It is a hierarchical mind map of all species that have ever existed on Earth, including the extinct ones. It is one of the most important organizing principles in biology. Plants belong in the eukarya domain, in the kingdom Plantae. And this is an example of how I would classify a plant. So this plant here belongs to the phylum Tracheophyta, in the class Magnolopsida, in the order Malvelis, in the family Dipterocarpaceae, and in the genus Hopea, and it is the species Faria. So the species name of a plant is a combination of the genus and the species name. So the scientific name of this plant is Hopea faria. These names sound very long and foreign, and that's because they are Latin. So in future episodes, I may refer to plants using their scientific or Latin names, and sometimes their common names. All plant families end with a C-E-A-E, or something C. So for example, the bean family is Fabaceae, and the ginger family is Zingiberaceae. You don't need to memorize any of these Latin names, but it's useful to understand what these names mean, because these names can give you clues as to what you can find on the plant. When botanists talk about plants, oftentimes the family name is used. We use plant families because there are many physical characteristics that are shared by members of the same family. We will cover different plant families and their genera in the coming episodes. So one of the first things we need to understand about leaves is that they can either be simple or compound. So simple leaves are simpler to understand, so let's start by looking at this plant here, Palaquium. The leaf is attached to the stem at the point known as the node. And we can tell this is a simple leaf by the presence of a bud between the stem and the petiole of this leaf. So the portion in between each petiole is the internode. So here is one internode, and here is another internode, and here is another internode. In contrast, if you look at this Canarium plant, it has compound leaves. So compound leaves have discrete subdivisions called leaflets. So similar to a simple leaf, a compound leaf will also have a bud at the base of the petiole. So we refer to this whole unit as one leaf in a compound leaf. And these are individual leaflets of the leaf. So now let's look at the plant's branching pattern. So there are three main branching patterns to look out for. One is alternate, opposite, and whorled. So this plant here has an alternate leaf arrangement. You can see the leaves are at alternate positions along the stem. And if we look at this plant here, you can see the leaves are coming out together at the same point, at the same node. So this is called opposite branching pattern. A whorled pattern, on the other hand, is when three or more leaves emerge from a single node. So like this Alstonia, you can see that it is a whorled branching pattern. It has between 4 to 8 leaves emerging from one node. This is how it branches out. Looking at this leaf, is one of the first things we notice is its shape. So this Cochlospermum leaf has a palmate shape, meaning that it looks like our palm, It's like this. So if you look closely at the edges of the leaf, you also find that it has jagged edges. So the proper term for this is called serrated edges. And so these features, the leaf shape and the leaf margin, they also help us to narrow down the type of plant we may be looking at. While unique leaf shapes are helpful for identifying certain plants, a closer examination of plant venation patterns may be required for others. Leaves typically have primary, secondary and tertiary veins. So let's take a look at this plant, Gyronera. So when we look at leaf venation, it's better to flip the leaf over to the underside because the veins are often clearer on the underside of the leaf. So the primary vein is the one that stretches from the petiole or the leaf stalk all the way to the end of the leaf. So this is the primary vein, and the secondary veins come out from the primary veins. So these are the secondary veins here. And the tertiary veins are the ones that are in between the secondary veins. So those that are coming out from the secondary veins here. Venation patterns also tell us whether a plant is a monocotyledon or a dicotyledon. You may have come across these terms growing up. A cotyledon is an embryonic leaf that first appears when a seed begins germination. Mono means one, and di means two in Latin. The number of cotyledons in a seed influences its growth patterns and especially how it looks. So parallel venation usually, but not always, indicates that the plant is a monocot or monocotyledon, like this bamboo here. So you can see the veins are all going in the same direction, parallel to each other. And if the leaf has a reticulate or net-like venation, then it's characteristic of a dicot or dicotyledon. Most leaves that you come across are usually smooth when you touch them, but some leaves are hairy or coarse to touch, like this hibiscus leaf. This one is very hairy. Some plant families can be identified by the presence of sap, resin, or smells. So these are secondary compounds that plants produce for self-defense against herbivores and other pathogens. So this plant here, the Alstonia, exudes white sap when I break the midrib of the leaf. So this kind of sap helps us to narrow down which plant family it may belong to. So for example, it could be the Apocynaceae, which is what this Alstonia belongs to. It could be the Moraceae, or the fig family, and the jackfruit family, or it could be the Sapotaceae, the chiku family, or a few other families that are known to have sap. And a quick note of caution, if you do find sap on a leaf and you touch them, don't touch your face or your eyes after touching the sap. In this episode, we have covered some of the major leaf traits to look out for when you go on plant identification trips. In the upcoming episodes, we will feature different plant families and how to go about recognizing them using the skills we have learned from today. We will also feature nature spots in Singapore and the plants that can be found in those places. So let us know how you go on your plant identification journey in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe to our channel. If you are an experienced botanist or a nature enthusiast, feel free to share your tips and tricks when it comes to identifying plants in the comments below. See you next time.